Hello. Um, so today I wanted to share something that's been taught to me by my coach and that's going to benefit you in getting a better direction of where your service is headed and how well you can achieve said service. This is called the 3 and 1 method. And with this, you have a massive opportunity to learn from your successes as well as your failures. Now, a lot of the time, people are, you get into this kind of state where it's like, oh, well, a failure means I can learn from it. And yes, we take lots of cool things from failure. When you start to learn to do that, that's awesome. But sometimes, and for me, you forget how to learn from your successes. Now, this method is really simple and well, essentially, it's just really simple and very easy to use. So, next time you perform your service or something that is of a value, maybe it's just like an area that you don't feel comfortable in that allows you to create your service, like getting people on phone calls, doing Zoom calls, maybe even like flyering. Whatever it is that you do, you can always write a 3 and 1. Give yourself 3 gold stars for your service because there will be lots of good things that you've done. And try and go quite deep with it. Like, I originally started writing very brief things like, let me think, listened more effectively, allowed the person to go into their journey deeper. That was good. I was able to learn from things like that. But to go slightly deeper, it's like, by listening more, I learned this, and this was clear because of. And you do that 3 times, and then you do one thing that you could have done better. And it's so effective, and I'm so glad that I learned that technique. I use it multiple times a day, probably at least 3 times a day. And I could probably even use it more. It doesn't really take up too much of my time. Well, this is not something that I can say I came up with myself, but is something very valuable for me to share. And I hope you can utilize it in your service and allow a better value to be created with that. So, 3 and 1. 3 gold stars and 1 thing you could have done better. Just give it a go. See how it works for you. And actually, let me just add something before I go. You can do way more than 3. I think 3 is almost a minimum. 1 should realistically be the maximum for your failures or for the sort of feedback bit, the negative feedback bit, because next time you do this service, you have 1 thing to focus on, and you can do that with 100% of your attention instead of, well, I've done loads of things rubbish, so let me talk about all of those things. The way that you improve on them is going to be slower and less effective. So, 3 and 1. Just share that with you guys and see how it works for you.